Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Marquee Picks, and today I got a little bit of a special video for you guys as I'm going to be showing you my MLB Player Projection sheet tutorial for you guys. I know a couple of you guys have reached out already asking for the MLB projection sheet because some of you have loved the NBA projection sheet, and I make projections for every single sport, and the MLB Player Projections are going to be available for you guys here today. And basically in this video, I'm going to be going over how the sheet works, how to use it, because I know it can get a little bit confusing for you guys. So hopefully this video can help you guys out. And if you guys do have any questions, comments, and concerns about anything here in this video, you can drop them down below in the video, drop them in the Discord. You can also shoot me an email as well if you guys have any questions regarding anything you have to get checked up on in this video. This video is supposed to help you guys out a little bit on how to get access to the sheet, and once you finally do get access to the sheet, how to use it. So just going to kick off the video here today on how to get access to the sheet. Basically, I run my services through an app called Gumroad. Been using it a little bit so far. It's pretty reliable so far. It helps me keep everything sorted pretty easily on who all is getting access to it and stuff like that, since the way I'm giving away it's a Google sheet basically is what this is, and it just helps me keep track of everybody that does have access to the sheets. I'll be able to send the sheet out to everybody that has access to it. So that's just a little bit of a starter into it. But basically, you guys click the link down in the description below. It'll bring you to this page here, which is the site that I have this set up on here for Gumroad. You guys can see, you can go through the information here on this page. It'll let you guys know everything that is tied into basically the MLB sheet. It lets you guys know everything, all the information here, a little bit that pretty much goes into the sheet here. So basically it's $10 a month for you guys to get access to this sheet, and it's really not that expensive, guys. It really isn't for the amount of data that you guys are going to be getting. And you guys got to think about it. MLB, you have tons of games every single day, and this sheet's going to find edges to all of these lines that can save you guys a ton of time and just help you make smarter decisions, really, especially if you guys don't know anything about baseball. You can use this sheet as your really main guide into making picks, and it works out very, very well. This sheet's very, very sharp, and you guys have already seen some of the results so far. Early on in this MLB season, we've been sweeping, multiple slips so far. So the sheet works. Is it going to work every time? No. These are projections, nothing's ever guaranteed, but these numbers do help you make smarter decisions. But yeah, you're going to get to the sheet here. It gives you guys all the information basically that goes into the sheet here. And basically, once you guys get to this sheet, you look like you're interested. You just click subscribe. It'll take you some payment options, and then you'll hit confirm. So once you go through those steps here, I'll show you what screen will pop up when you guys do hit subscribe and the payment does go through. I'll show you guys in the next screen here what screen you'll see. So I'll talk to you guys here in the next scene. So we're now on the next page here. So this is the screen that you guys will see once you guys do hit subscribe and the payment does go through. You'll be brought to this screen here. It'll basically tell you this message here. It basically says, thank you for subscribing, and, access is tied through your email. I'll be getting notified whenever somebody subscribes. It goes straight to my email. So if you guys do subscribe right away and you guys don't see an email from me like for a few hours, don't worry about it. I'm probably just haven't been able to check it at that point, or I'm sleeping or something like that. So don't panic. Don't be like, oh, you just robbed me. No, I just haven't got to it yet, but I will be getting to it. I usually check my emails around the afternoon, evening time. So if you guys do want to purchase it, probably purchase it around that time. But if you guys do purchase like early in the morning, if you don't see anything for a few hours, that's exactly what's happening. So yeah, you'll be get to this message here. Basically tells you, if you have any questions, my email is right there as well. If you guys are a little concerned, don't worry about it. I'll be getting you guys that sheet. So basically this will notify me. I'll get the sheet. I'll email it to you, and then you'll have the sheet just for whenever. So that's basically all this page is about. Now we're going to get into the real stuff, is the projection sheet itself. I'm going to go over exactly everything that goes into it and help you guys out with the sheet. So I'll see you guys in the next clip. So now that we're on to the official Marquee Picks MLB player projection sheet, this is exactly what the sheet will look like once you guys open it up. Again, it is better to use this on a computer. You can use this on a phone, but it can get kind of, little sloppy, I would say. It's, really small to look at on a phone. Highly recommend you guys do use it on a computer, but you guys totally could use it on a phone. It just could be a little hard to see certain stuff in columns and stuff like that. Also, hopefully you guys do have a Gmail account because it works a lot better with a Gmail account and makes things a lot easier and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys do have a Gmail account when signing up. Makes it a lot easier to navigate through it and stuff like that. I don't know why. It just works easier with Google's Sheets here. But yeah, this is what the sheet will look like here once you guys open it up. And this is the hitters tab. You guys can see down here right below here, you got the hitters tab right here and the pitchers tab right here. I'm going to focus on the hitters tab for right now, but I will go into the pitchers tab in just a second. But we're going to start on the hitters tab. So basically, this is what you guys will see once you open up the sheet. So you got the starting out here, pretty simple here in column A. You got the players, basically all the players that are projected to be starting for a given night in MLB. You got the team that they play for here in column B. In column C here is the opponent that they are going to be playing. Pretty straightforward stuff right here. In the next column here is the home tab, which is whatever team is home for that game. And right next to it is the park ranking. Now, this is where it starts to get, a little bit confusing, but basically the park ranking tab is the home stadium. Is it a hitter-friendly park or is it a, non-hitter friendly park? So the way I have this scaled is 1 to 30. So that's all 30 MLB teams. 1 being the best hitter-friendly park and 30 being the worst hitter-friendly park. So you guys can see here, kicking it off. Number 1, Colorado is the home team. So it obviously makes sense. They're going to have the number 1 hitter-friendly park in the MLB. So this means that it's a hitter-friendly park. Hitters in a pretty good matchup just based off of the stadium that they're playing in for that day. So that's just the first way. And you guys can see here, if you want to sort these columns, you just go up to the top of the column, which is E. You can right-click it and hit sort A to Z or Z to A. Either way you guys want to do it. If you get A to Z, there goes you sort all the top, hitter parks for that day and vice versa. You guys can see if you go to Z to A, it'll show you the worst hitting stadiums for that game today. And you guys see Texas is the worst, one of the worst stadiums, or 29th out of 30. So not a pretty good hitters park here for, Brendan Donovan here in Seattle and Texas game here. So just a little bit of a, how that column works there. Now onto the next column is the batting order, which is pretty straightforward as well. It's just the order that player is supposed to be hitting in. It's like projected order. Brendan Donovan got projected to hit leadoff in this game. So, yeah, that's basically all that goes into that column there. Now, in this column here is the opposing pitcher tab. Basically, the pitcher that the hitter is going to be going up against for a majority of his at-bats during that game. So, Brendan Donovan plays for Seattle. They're playing Texas. The opposing starter for Texas for today is Nathan Eovaldi. So, that's basically all that column is saying here. Usually a player is going to be facing the starting pitcher at least 2 times per game, likely 3 times, especially if the starter is really good. You're going to be seeing the starting pitcher for 3 times. So that's really the only matchup you really need to be looking at, because you're only going to be facing the bullpen arm probably at least once throughout a whole game. So, I could add bullpen strengths in here, but again, baseball is random. The majority of the times, the majority of the opportunities you're going to be facing a guy is the starting pitcher. So, yeah, that's why I got the starting pitcher on here. Give you guys another, easy way to look at and compare things as well. Now we're into the juicy stuff here in the sheet. Projected fantasy score for the hitters right here in column H. So basically, this is the projected fantasy scores that I have projected for every player on a given MLB slate. And I'm going by Prize Picks fantasy scoring, and I believe DraftKings fantasy scoring as well. I don't know if FanDuel has the same scoring method. I'm pretty sure they're all pretty much relatively the same in terms of fantasy scoring for a player. So again, this is the projected fantasy score I got for the player, and right next to it is the fantasy score line. So all of these lines that you guys are going to see in this sheet are from Prize Picks specifically. So you guys can see there's a 0 right here for Brendan Donovan. That's just because Prize Picks doesn't have a fantasy score line out there for Brendan Donovan at the time of recording. So if you guys do see a 0, that just means they don't have a line out there for Prize Picks. So that's just basically simple as that. But you guys can see like down here, let me see if I can get a better example here by sorting this sheet out by like a guy that actually, so here we go. Yordan Alvarez, his fantasy score line's at 10.5. I got projected at 11.3. So you guys can see how you guys can start comparing lines in this sheet just like that. But on the next column here is where you find the edge, where this is where you guys are probably going to want to be finding majority of your plays in this sheet. Because the edge is basically finding the difference between the projection and the line between these two columns right here. So to find the biggest edge for fantasy scores today, what you're going to do is go up to column J, sort it Z to A, and then you'll find the biggest edges on a slate. Again, baseball is one of those sports that's random. You're not going to find too many big-time edges like you'll see in other sports, especially the NBA. You'll find edges that are like several points above the line. Baseball is one of those sports that's random. So, the edges of fantasy scoring isn't going to be crazy, but they definitely can be a guy to look at. So even though it's only a 0.8 edge, that's actually a solid edge here. Yordan to go over his fantasy score here at 10.5, just given the matchup and everything here. But again, hitters are very random. You can have all the projections in the world for a hitter, and it's just not going to matter. It really isn't. You can only go off of matchups against the pitcher, the stadium and run total, stuff like that. That's all you can really go into with this projection. But again, you're not going to find too many huge edges with hitters just because the margins are so tight with the projections. And the only thing you can go off of hitters is it's really a 50-50% chance at the end of the day for hitters, just because you can't really predict if they're going to suck on a game or they're going to do well in a game. But projections can be beneficial for hitters, especially when you see some tough matchups that hitters will go up against and stuff like that. So you're not going to find too many big-time edges, but again, these edges you can definitely find that can be pretty beneficial for making selections. So yeah, that's a little bit of the fantasy score tab, and pretty similarly here, the rest of the tab here, hits, runs, RBIs, projection here. And the reason of all these columns here, the hits, runs, RBIs lines, is because I didn't update the Prize Picks hits, runs, RBIs line, so that's why they're all 0 right now, but they'll probably be in there very, very soon. Again, this sheet just got created, so we're going to have a little bit of bugs probably. Going to be trying to, clean up some things, but I do want to get this sheet out for you guys so you guys can take advantage of it, because the MLB, this sport is my bread and butter. It really is, and I make all of my selections from these sheets. I just go through, look at the data, look at matchups, make selections, and I also have good knowledge about baseball as well, so it just also helps into making picks. But again, this sheet is one of my go-tos for MLB. And again, similarly, got total bases here as well. So you got 3 projections stats here for hitters. I mean, I don't really go crazy with the hitter projections just because they're random, but I have the main 3 really that you look for hitters, especially for Prize Picks. This is really all you're going to want to look for is hits, runs, RBIs, total bases, and fantasy score. You can go run the scoring, RBIs, but, I don't really feel a need to do that just because those stats are really, really random, random enough. I think I got the main 3 here that are probably the most popular in terms of hitter projections. So again, total bases, total base line, find the edges in all 3. So here is something that I added here into the sheet on the end here. It's called the marquee rating. So this number here that you'll find for some of these players is basically a number that you guys can definitely look at for first off. But what goes into this number is basically how I feel about the hitters matchup overall, taking in everything, the game environment, the run total, the park factor, the opposing pitcher, the opposing pitcher's pitches against how the hitter hits against those pitches. It basically goes into this number here. And what these numbers represent is, you guys can see these numbers that are above 1.0 are green. That means that I think that the hitter is in a pretty good matchup overall in this game. And you guys can also sort this. So again, Yordan Alvarez, I was pretty high on him. One of my highest ratings here. But if you guys want to see the lowest ratings, so here we go. So Jorge Barroza pretty much makes sense why he's the least rating in my factor. I don't even know who that guy is. But, I got him at the worst. He's 0.87, which is terrible. That means he matches up terribly. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you guys can see here, it just makes sense here. He's, park factors neutral at 15, okay, but he hits ninth, so he hits last in the batting order. And you're facing Freddie Peralta, so that makes sense. Everything's looking really sharp here so far. And basically what goes on behind the scenes here is I'm also taking into account, like I just said, the hitters, how the hitter hits against the opposing pitcher's pitches, stuff like that. The run totals for these games. Arizona not projected to score a lot of runs, limited opportunities to get hits and stuff like that. So if you guys strictly just want to look at this marquee rating column, it's something new that I added into this sheet. It looks pretty good to me. You can find what hitters are in like tough matchups. That's basically what this number is representing. What hitters are in good matchups, what hitters are in bad matchups. And you guys, want to take contact, let's sort this to Z to A. We'll find a better example. So here we go. The Astros, pretty much the whole Astros order. You can correlate a slip with just all Astros hitters, it looks like here today, against Kyle Freeland. And it makes sense. You're playing in Coors Field. Offense is going to be plenty in this game. But also, these fantasy score lines are pretty inflated, but again, they should, in theory, go over, to be honest. But again, all these greens here are guys that I think are in good matchups. Again, these Houston guys here are all pretty good matchups today. But Kevin McGonigal here against Taj Bradley looks like it's matching up pretty well in terms of a hitter matchup. So that's something to look at. Also, you got Ben Rice, a little bit of a shout there against Aaron Savali. Don't hate that one, it looks like. Joey Weimer. These are some guys you can find some great value here that could definitely turn out to be something. Now, are these guaranteed? Again, hitters are random to me, so take it with a grain of salt, to be honest, but you can definitely find what spots are looking good. This is how you find value. This is what this sheet is made to do for you guys, is find value. So that's the hitter sheet I got here for you guys. Again, you got hitters and pitchers in this projection sheet membership for you guys. So that's the hitter sheet. Again, if you guys have any questions about the hitter sheet, don't feel free to drop them in the Discord, email me, drop them in the comments below. But that's the hitter sheet. I might be adding more stuff to this in the future as the season goes on. So again, get it right now. Take full advantage of these edges that you guys can find on a daily basis. So that's the hitters. We got a whole other sheet to look at, and that's the pitchers tab. So down below, you got the two tabs you're going to be looking at. Pitchers tab is right here. So here is the pitchers tab. Now, this is where this sheet is really going to make its money's worth, is because the pitchers are a little bit more easier to predict, and you can definitely find a lot of edges very, very quickly in this specific sheet. So here's the pitchers sheet here. Again, very similar formats as the last one. Starting off of column A, you got the player name. So basically, this is all the pitchers that are projected to be pitching on a given day in the MLB today. In column B is the team that the pitcher plays for. Pretty self-explanatory there as well. The opponent that the pitcher is going up against for the day. And in the next column is the home stadium, just like the last sheet. Whatever team is home for that game. And then here is the park rank. So this is actually flipped from the hitters. So I know in the hitters tab, we had 1 through 30 scale. It's the same thing here. Although we had number 1 being the most hitter-friendly park on the hitters tab. So basically, what this is doing is whatever is number 1, that means that it is a pitcher-friendly park. So like we just said in the hitters tab, we looked at Texas being the worst hitter park yesterday, or for today, I mean. The worst hitters park. So in the pitchers tab, it's going to be the best pitchers park. That's how this scale works. It's flip-flop from the hitters because it just makes sense. If it's a good hitters park, it's a bad pitchers park. So if we guys sort this, remember we talked about Coors Field being the number 1 hitters park. So that means Kyle Freeland will be at a 30 right here. Worst pitchers park. Both pitchers, Mike Burrows and Kyle Freeland, Colorado and Houston. So that's just a little bit of what goes into this park ranking here for the pitching. Now the next tab is the projected fantasy score for the pitchers. So this is a huge stat of mine. This is one of my main stats that I go with really on a daily basis for MLB, especially for Prize Picks. I know not every book offers fantasy score, but Prize Picks does, and I love it. This is my favorite stat by far in baseball. It's just the easiest to predict, in my opinion, just because it factors in really everything for a pitcher. It factors in strikeouts and how deep a pitcher goes into an outing. Is the pitcher going to win that game? Is he going to get a quality start? How many earned runs he's going to give up? That's pretty much everything that goes into fantasy score. And this is a Prize Picks scoring as well for this fantasy score. It's not like DK, so make sure you guys do pay attention to that. You guys might see this fantasy score being, maybe like an underdog scoring or DraftKings scoring. This is specifically Prize Picks scoring for the projected fantasy score. So make sure you guys do pay attention to that. You guys see a line here. Maybe underdog has it looking crazy, but make sure you guys do make sure that it is Prize Picks fantasy scoring. That's what this is formulated for. So again, you're going to find the Prize Picks fantasy score right here. In the column next to it is the fantasy score line from Prize Picks. Now, I don't have any the lines in right now, but you can use this for just pretend that these lines will be there because they will. They just didn't have any at time recording, because again, the MLB game is still going on for like today. I have this sheet set up for tomorrow, so that's why some of these lines aren't actually out for today yet. But these lines will be changing to whatever the fantasy score line for Prize Picks has for that day. So you can compare it, and you'll find the edge right here. So you guys will want to find, if you guys want to find the best edges for the game, just go to the edge column, go Z to A, and then it'll find you the best edges for fantasy score for the pitchers for that game. And then on the next column is the projected Ks. So I have 2 projected Ks formulas for you guys to basically sharpen down you guys' numbers, because I know Ks is a big line for MLB. I know pitcher strikeouts is a main stat that everybody can bet on, no matter Prize Picks, Underdog, DraftKings, FanDuel, straight bets, stuff like that. So I have a couple formulas for you guys here, and just a couple of numbers for you guys to look at, just to make it a little bit more sharper. I have a couple K formulas that I like to run. So instead of just combining these into one, I'm showing you guys both, just to give you guys more numbers to look at, sharper angles to look at. So again, some of these numbers will be kind of erratic. Let me see if I can find a good example here where some of these numbers don't agree with each other, because for the most part, most of these numbers will be somewhat similar, but again, some formulas might be sharper than others. So that's why I'm putting both of them on here for you guys to look at. So maybe here's a good example on this one here for Yoshi Yamamoto today. I got him projected here on this formula to get 6.4 strikeouts, but in this other one, it's just only getting 4.9. So he's probably going to fall in the middle of a 5K range in this game. So again, that's just another way to look at it. Also right here for Kevin Gossman, got him to get 5.9 and 7.3. So he's probably getting in the 6 range in this game, most likely. If some of these numbers are agreeing, that means that it's probably pretty sharp, whatever line we're getting here. So that's a really good thing to look at. 2.6, both of these numbers are agreeing with each other. Some of these numbers, most of these numbers will agree with each other, but again, some won't. And that's how you guys can definitely find some value that way as well. So say this line here for like Cade Cavalli is like 5 maybe, and I got him to get 5.7 and 7.4. So smash the over 100% there. Well, actually, that's not Cade Cavalli. It's a Scooble, right? Yeah, that's Scooble, not Cade Cavalli. So yeah, that's just another way for you guys to find value very, very quickly. That's what I'm giving you guys 2 formulas. So the edge basically is the average of these 2, whatever the line is. So that's how you guys can find the edge for the K line. But again, it's a couple formulas for you guys. Sharper edges, I think, giving you guys 2. So that's basically what goes into that one. Now for the projected walks column, pretty much the same thing as projected Ks column. I got 2 formulas for you guys to look at here. and you can compare the lines as well. So again, same thing as the Ks. I have a couple different formulas. Some of these numbers won't agree with some, like look at this one right here, 1.6 projected walks for Yoshi, and then I have him for 1. So, it's just another way to look at value a little bit, give you guys a couple formulas to look at that could be sharper than others. So, if the numbers do agree, that means it's pretty sharp. Whatever I got projected for, it means it's probably pretty accurate. So, yeah, pretty similar there with the walks allowed column. Now, the hits allowed column is the next one here. So this is another stat that I really love to go with. The hits allowed column has been one of my better stats, especially last year. Loved going to this stat just because it's a very, very good projection, especially when you get a good matchup for it. So again, hits allowed is how many hits allowed the pitcher will be giving up, in my opinion. And again, same old. You have the hits allowed line will be right here. You can find the edges right there. Very, very simple there. Now, the next column is the projected earned runs column. So this is how many earned runs I expect the pitcher to give up for that game. Again, you can find this projection right here, find the earned run line right here, find the edge right next to it as well. So next one, now we got the projected innings pitched, the projected outs, and the outs line, and the edges for it. So yeah, moving on down the table here. So basically here in these columns are how many innings I expect the pitcher to pitch for that game. So, and I got projected outs right here. So again, the projected innings pitch, projected outs, basically what I think the pitcher is going to go into for that game based on the matchups and everything like that, the opposing lineup. That's how I get my projection for the innings pitched. And for prize picks, they have outs line. So you can compare the projected outs by the outs line. Another stat that I probably want to start getting into is pitching outs. Usually pitchers do pitch the same amount pretty much every game, especially if they're pitching to their normal standards. They'll pitch, whatever they pitch in a normal game. So I do like this outs line. Also, I can find the edge right here. Now, here we go again. The marquee rating, similar to the hitters for the hitter sheet. So this is basically the same way. Whatever number you find here, if it's greater than 1, that means I expect the pitcher to be in a great matchup. It considers everything. It considers how the pitcher's pitches match up against the entire lineup. It factors in the run totals, the park factor, how the opponent hits versus the hand, everything like that. It factors in a lot. And it'll give me a number on if the pitcher's in a good matchup or a bad matchup. So just for some perspective here, we're going to sort this. So we're going to see what pitcher's in the best matchup here today. So there's not many. Most of these guys are in the 1 category, but here we go. Trevor Rogers is in the best matchup today, just based off of the opponent. And it looks like it makes sense to me because you're playing the White Sox. White Sox stink. So that's a bonus. The park rank, it's a pretty favorable pitching park, top 10, not a pretty favorable matchup in terms of a pitching park here. And you guys see the projections, love them. Now, the K's line actually is kind of crazy here. Now this is what I was talking about, sharper angles. This K line I have projected for 8.3, but this one's 5.4. So, yeah, that's a pretty big gap. So that could be one of those probably stay away from to me. On the K line, at least. Maybe that just looks like a fantasy score line, or it'll depend. It'll depend whatever this line on the fantasy score does come out to. But, if you get a big gap like this, it just depends on what this K line actually is. So I'm expecting this K line to probably be in the 6 to 6.5 range, if I had to guess. So if it is, I probably wouldn't even pick it at that point because pretty much the average, one of these two probably will happen. He's either going to have a game where he goes under that 6.5 line, or he's going to have a game where he does good and goes over the 6.5 line. So, yeah, it's one of those. Another way you guys can look at stuff. And, Christopher Sanchez is the next best option here. That makes sense. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He should be in a favorable matchup every day. And then when you factor in he's playing in San Francisco, who's a very, very pretty favorable pitcher's park, 13. It's pretty neutral, I would say. Not the greatest, actually, but still not terrible. But again, it factors in everything. It factors in the offense, how the hitter hits, how the offense hits against Sanchez's pitches, run values, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the Marquee scale. Just perspective. We'll look at whatever the worst pitcher is today is projected to be on my rating scale here. So the worst pitcher is Kyle Freeland, and that makes complete sense. You're already pitching in Coors Field, right? So you're pitching in the worst pitcher's park there is. And it's not even close. Coors Field's the worst pitcher's park you can pitch in. The ball just flies out of there. And you're also playing Houston, so it makes sense as well. Houston, very, very good offense, and they hit lefties very well. And Kyle Freeland is not a power pitcher, so this makes complete sense here on my end why he's hitting the worst. And it's really not even close. He's not even close. He's got 0.83 on this scale, and the next one is 0.91. So Kyle Freeland should get absolutely waxed in this game today. And yeah, just one of those. I'll probably take an under on him, whatever his fantasy score line does come out to be. So again, Aaron Savali's the next one. Athletics, playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium makes complete sense as well. So that's pretty much everything that goes into this sheet, guys. So if you guys are interested in buying it, click the link down in the description below. It'll take you directly to that Gumroad dashboard where you guys will purchase it. Hopefully I covered everything here in the sheet to make this easier for you guys to navigate through for the MLB season. Again, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, feel free to drop them down below and let me know to Discord or email me any way you want if you have any questions here about this sheet. But that's all for the MLB projection sheet here for 2026. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.